I need the second one, which is called nutrient dense. The second link, yeah, that one. Well, I'm happy I watched the last video because I sometimes think I'm a bit crazy because I have 60,000 bookmarks and delicious. But when I see the Chinese guy, I think I'm not. I'm very moderate. I want to start with this site, which is not mine. It's, but it kind of is related a bit to the Vietnamese story that we heard. And this is what happens when the people in Vietnam, instead of just doing their gardens, start deciding to compete with Monsanto. And there are hundreds of thousands of sites like this, but this one really kind of exemplifies pretty much what I understand under peer production and peer-to-peer dynamics. These people have a really crazy idea, which is if you put good nutrients in the soil, you get good food. Now, maybe from some of you that sounds obvious. It does pretty much to me, but of course it's the total opposite of industrial agriculture, which assumes that by depleting the soil, we get good food, right? So these people, if you know the subsidies that go to industrial agriculture as compared to the little crumbs that go to organic agriculture, will not get any money, not from Monsanto, and not from the governments that are elected through the financing of companies like Monsanto. So they pretty much have to do it themselves. And so what they do is they research nutrients among themselves. They have chemists, they have farmers, they have all kinds of people involved in agricultural production working together to peer produce knowledge about ecological agriculture and good nutrients. Now, this may sound kind of normal and banal, but from this kind of dynamic flow quite a few things. First of all, this is not a market, right? This is just people contributing freely to a commons. So we're talking about a commons dynamic. It's very important. The second thing is when they work together as voluntarily aggregating their knowledge and testing different nutrients in the soil, they're not paying each other. So this is not a corporate hierarchy either. And also, this is not really what we call reciprocity, like a gift economy, right? A gift economy, we understand traditionally, I give you something, it creates a kind of obligation, and you will give me something back. This is not what's happening there. This is really communal shareholding. This is individuals contributing to a whole, give a brick, get a house. So this is what we understand under commons-oriented peer production, which has been termed by Yochai Benkler. So I talk about peer production, the common aggregation to create common value, peer governance, the kind of governance and management mechanisms that flow from that, and peer property, how you protect the common from private appropriation. I think you understand that if somebody can say this is mine and put a copyright on it, then people will not continue to contribute to the common endeavor, right? So you need to protect the commonality of the results. Another way to explain it is to talk about open and free input. So this is based on free sharing, permissionless sharing, so no copyright, no patents, which are all techniques to make sharing illegal or based on either money or permission, right? Participatory processes, because if you aggregate voluntarily, you need to find a consensus. And then also commons-oriented output. Now the second question I would like to ask is, does that have a relation with sustainability? And my answer is yes, and I'd like to explain why that is. First of all, it's important to know that this peer production of knowledge has moved, as you know, to software, code. So we have open knowledge commons and we have free software commons. But it's now, and this is actually an example of that, it's moving to making and manufacturing, right? It's moving to what we call shared design commons. And there's hundreds of thousands of projects like that. Just in the field of agriculture, there's another 3 dozen projects which do individual nutrients, and there are different communities doing pretty much the same. I used to be 30 years in business, And I have a strong and maybe kind of disturbing thesis, which is that a company cannot do sustainable design. And I know a lot of people think, well, why not? Well, basically, because you're operating in a market, you have to maintain scarcity, right? So planned obsolescence is not a kind of like accidental feature of for-profit production. It's really a key factor of that type of production. So no company is going to make a light bulb, and there is one that has been burning since 1903. I think it's in the Netherlands, I'm not sure. I read that recently. No company will make a light bulb that will still work today after putting it on in 1903, because they would destroy their own market, right? Now think about how a community does that. It's like free software, right? They say scratch your own itch. You contribute to the Linux Commons or to the Wikipedia Commons because you want to improve yourself, because you want to learn something, because you need to develop some code yourself that you need, or maybe some client is paying you to develop a particular solution, but you put it in the common pool. Where is the motivation to do something unsustainable in that dynamic? And the answer is there is no motivation. So when people start doing open design commons, they really make sustainable design commons. And they start thinking differently. Just two examples. One is from your neighbor in Finland called the eHornstull project, which is a very complicated Finnish name, which I won't try to repeat. But basically, think about how they've done it. They've decided, instead of making, they're talking about hybrid cars. They want to make hybrid cars. Instead of thinking, let's make a design for a hybrid car, we should patent. And it will cost you, $300 million to have the right to produce it by yourself. And then you need another $1 billion to make a centralized big car manufacturing. Well, no. What they've done is they create conversion designs that can be used by every mechanic in the world. The first one is the Toyota Corolla, and the idea is simply you go with your request to any mechanic in the world, and you ask them, can you convert the car? Yes. Why? Because the design is online, can be shared by everybody. The mechanic downloads the design and converts your car. So that's the idea. Another example, there are 24 open source cars projects right now. The other idea is the Common Car, which is a Dutch project, where they work with biodegradable designs for the, the skin. So again, instead of thinking, let's force people to buy a new car, and like the TV, as you know, the TV is designed to break down within 5 years. Everything in the TV at the same time has to break down within 5 years. Here, every 3 years, you don't have to change your car. You just go to the garage and you get a new skin. Any module is developed by separate communities, so it's kind of a modular system. There is a project called in the United States, and I'm trying to remember, well, this is the early stage of Alzheimer catching. Anyway, so this is a 100K garage, is that it? It's a network of about 100 places in the US where you can download tens of thousands of designs and have the people make it. Okay, second thing. How would you design machinery if you would be an open design community? And well, the answer is as well there, you don't want to make big machines that exclude people. You want to make inclusionary design. So this is why we have personal fabricators, the fab labs, the hacker spaces, the multi-machines. We have a whole slew of developments in technology which aims to do with machines, production machines, what we've done already with computers. Miniaturize them, make them smaller, so that small local people can easily step into production themselves and relocalize quite a few aspects of production. Okay, I want to tell you a bit about learning innovations. Just a few things that are interesting. Stigmergic collaboration. Stigmergy comes from the language of the ants, where they put chemical trails that tell other ants what to do. And so basically, if we look at peer production, it's based on stigmergic signaling, right? So you go to the Wikipedia, you look at Theravada Buddhism, there's something wrong or something incomplete. This is a signal for you that you can contribute. The second thing is called negotiated coordination. Okay, I'm a Bushy, you're a Gory, and we're making a bio of Gore. That's not going to work unless we talk together, right? So peer production is also associated with what we call negotiated coordination through wikis, mailing lists, boards that allow people to reach consensus on how things should happen. It's not always a pretty process, but it works. Credentialism, that's a really good one. Yeah, everything today, you want to do something, you need permission. If you want to write an article for a classic magazine, the editor-in-chief needs to tell you, yes, it's okay. Permissionless contribution based on proven capability rather than official credentials is also a big innovation in those communities. Okay, I want to tell you a few words about the social structure, which is also kind of interesting. So what we have at the core of a system like this is a commons, right? It's two things. It's a community of people, and it's a collection of knowledge, code, or design. So that's the core. This is where the value gets created. This is where the innovation happens, right? This is not private companies paying researchers, patenting the research. I used to work for British Petroleum in the early 90s. You probably know what happened. We had a thriving renewable energy industry sector in California. They were all bought. They were all closed down, and the patents were shelved, right? So we lost 30 years of development in renewable energy. This can happen with this system, because whoever contributes something to the collective, everybody in the world can use it and improve on it. So the second part is that these communities have created new type of institutions that are quite different from classic NGOs, and I call them for-benefit associations. Think about the Wikimedia Foundation, the Linux Foundation, the GNOME Foundation, the Eclipse Foundation, the Perl Foundation. There's a whole slew of them. What do? They don't manage the production process. They don't tell people what to do, but they maintain the infrastructure of cooperation, right? So if you go to the Wikipedia, you can contribute, you can change, but who pays for the computers, right? Who pays for the servers? Well, it's the Wikimedia Foundation which takes care for the whole process to take care of itself. The third player is the entrepreneurial coalition, right? So if you look at, let's say, a software project, free software project, how do you sustain yourself? The collective may be sustainable when people leave and new people come, but as individuals, you cannot contribute for free all your life, right? Certainly not in this type of society. So entrepreneurial coalitions are very important to sustain people to paying salaries, also eventually subsidies to the for-benefit associations. And I'd like to add a little change to it, which I think is very close to the idea of social entrepreneurship. So what happens today is peer production is a situation of codependency with for-profit companies, shareholder-based companies, and you know what they do, what Facebook. You know that Facebook has 800 pages of information on every individual user. You know that they copy what you do even when you log out of Facebook, right? They do that because they need to make money, right? So what I'm proposing is, and we're actually applying this with the Peer-to-Peer Foundation, is next to the P2P Foundation as a foundation which maintains the commons, is we have a co-op, a mission-oriented, benefit-driven, community-supportive structure. So we're a market entity, but we're not there to maximize profit, but to actually support the commoners and the peer producers that contribute to the commons. And I think this is a model that we can actually extend to the whole of society. So we think from the micro level, the commons at the center, the for-benefit associations maintaining the commons, and a new private sector concerning of mission-oriented, community-supportive entities. My view is this could pretty much work as a social model, because very briefly, what's wrong today? It's not rocket science. We think the world is infinite, so we have pseudo-abundance and an infinite growth system within the finite material world, and we think sharing should be illegal through patents and copyright and all these sharing inhibitive practices. The only thing is we can turn that around, right? We can have an economy which respects the natural limits of society, of the world, of the material world, and we can have a global innovation commons where sharing can flow without interruption and improve the conditions of the world. If you want to learn something, maybe the third slide, just to show you, because I don't have time to go into it, I have 2 minutes left. So this is what we do at the P2P Foundation is to collect information. We peer produce knowledge about peer production, to be very clear, and we have about 18,000 articles about peer-to-peer practices, open and free, participatory, commons-oriented practices, and we have also these pages about peer-to-peer learning. So if you want to know about how these processes work, how these people cooperate, I invite you to check it out here. Okay, I was asked to say something personal, and this is a bit difficult, but I will tell you how I came to do this, and maybe this will inspire some people, I don't know. Anyway, do you know William James? A pragmatist philosopher from the beginning of the earliest century. He wrote a really fantastic book called Varieties of Religious Experience, which is about the founders of the Reformed churches in Christian history. And they all had something very bad happen to them at some point in their life, and then something happened, and they created these new movements. Now, he makes a difference between once-born people and twice-born people. Once-born people, you know, they're born in the world, they have nice parents, everything smiles, and they're happy. Well, we're not all like that, right? So I was not once born. I was wondering, what am I doing here? What kind of world is this? And those type of people, they need some jolt to be reborn. Not necessarily in a Christian sense, but in a sense of, you know, finding your purpose in life. This is really what happened to me, 1 minute and 3 seconds. When I was 42, 96, my father died, my mother got Alzheimer. I discovered that somebody was stealing money in my company. I had an intellectual guru who did something I didn't like. The love of my life broke up. I divorced just the year before. And basically had a burnout, right? And so what I realized is that I had been engaged when I was young, and I had given up hope. And so basically what I felt was that, you know, there was this kind of energy, right, that was there, but I wasn't using it. I was actually desperate. I didn't really know it, but I was actually kind of desperate. And so the decision when you're really low, and you can only go up, to reconnect with your true purpose, you know, with your inner light, is basically what led me to create this. And I didn't know what I was doing. And as the lady says on the movie, oops, 18 seconds. No, it's already finished. As the lady says, it just happened. So the P2P Foundation today is a global collaborative. We have people in all continents contributing to the wiki. And our aim is to change the world. Thank you very much.